And several different media outlets would begin researching 1090 Jake and trying to find some type of paperwork demonstrating that he had cooperated with authorities and was not as real as he was claiming he was. Each time Jake would respond and have an excuse for the paperwork, saying that it was fake or that nobody was arrested and he lied to police. And though we all know that just because a person has an excuse doesn't mean that they are excused, the fact that Jake was still in the presence of documented and real outstanding members is what kept his credibility intact. His fans would always use the excuse, well, if he's a rat, why is he around these real members? He's hanging out with real documented guys. Why are they with him if he's a rat? Just when it seemed that Jake had everything under control and was on his way all the way to the top, boom. In 2023, Jake would engage in an argument with a friend of mine over the internet, and some pretty disrespectful things were said. To be honest, Jake was not even on my radar, but based on the conversation and things that were said, my interest was sparked. Let me look into this guy. He's saying some stuff that only somebody that's really like that should be saying. Being knowledgeable of how to get paperwork, I said, hey, this guy pulling everybody paperwork, I'm gonna go pull his. But I took a different approach because Jake had talked so much about his prison encounters and things that he had done in prison. Right. I wanted to go see how much of that was true, as opposed to trying to find some paperwork on what he had been doing out here in the streets, because it was obvious he didn't have a real criminal history, not a lengthy one anyway. What I found was that Jake had not only fabricated some of his prison stories, but that he had also snitched himself, as we see right here on this document. He wrote that on 1/16/14, I was sitting on my bunk when inmate Jimmy Horry hit me in the head with a rock and a sock. Now, in this document, Jake would go on to describe his troubles in the Florida Department of Corrections, specifically that he was being abused and intimidated by the staff, that inmates were threatening him, the staff was threatening him, and that he really needed help. He was not safe in confinement.
Ooh-wee. Shoulda known better, Master Noodles crazy work.
Specifically saying, I'm being blackmailed, help me. I would then uncover another document in which Jake wrote that because he had wrote the previous document, he was being continuously threatened by staff and denied food, and was told that if he was released from confinement, that inmates would attack him. As a result, he didn't want protective custody because that would mean he had to stay in the facility that he was at, so he wanted to get shipped out, claiming, and I quote, I am unsafe at Lancaster CI. I have Lancaster staff threatening to hurt me physically. I have reported and will keep reporting this to my family, who will be contacting Tallahassee. I have all of the names of the staff threatening me, and I am requesting to get shipped from Lancaster CI. I am not safe. I also have the date, time I was threatened, and food was taken from me. I am not safe in this facility. Please help me. Of course, this news would make
Ooh-wee. But I think, I don't know. I think I seen a video on Clubhouse or on YouTube, Wack and him, Wack and 10 Jake was discussing 10 Jake paperwork.
make headlines. And Jake would
I think
soon
that shit
find
probably
himself
definitely.
under the scrutiny of the same platforms that he was using to promote the fact that he had found snitch paperwork on other people. Despite the fact that he had handwritten this document and obviously was in distress, he would attempt to go on these platforms and explain himself by denying that a grievance was snitch paperwork. Pretty much saying, if you want to write a statement on somebody and snitch, you have to write a statement. A grievance is just that, a grievance.
No, my boy. No, my boy. To my community, snitching is you tell something that you ain't got no business telling. You talking about something you ain't got no business talking about. If you ain't if y'all go do something and it ends up y'all getting arrested, one of y'all tell on each other, or even y'all both of y'all get arrested, both of y'all gotta do time. Say one of y'all get jumped or hit, and you write in that statement exactly what happened. You telling details.
Of course, this would spark some debate as we all saw that Jake specifically named the inmate, but it was
Tell them that's a number one rule. You, you don't implicate nobody else. You know what I'm saying?
not that started the argument. It was the fact that he tried to argue that a general grievance is the same
Mm-hmm.
as a grievance in which you identify somebody as the person who attacked you, and is not the same thing. You can snitch.
How is not the same thing. Again, this goes if you in the streets. I mean, if you claiming a game or in the streets or you about that lifestyle. What's done to you, what you done to other people is gonna be done to you. And when it comes to be done to you, you can't just sit out there and tell them people that, oh yeah, this who did it, this woo 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 woo. You snitching, you telling. You know what I'm saying?
On toilet paper. It's still toilet paper, but what you write on it can make you a snitch. Because of the conflict that existed already, just based on the fact that the people around Jake had accepted him and had somewhat taken in a white member to the Bloods, this issue created somewhat of a deeper inner conflict, because now you got members who are saying, hey, I wouldn't have done that. That's snitching. And then you got these other guys who are cool with Jake saying, hey, he just wrote his name. He was writing up the COs. It's not that big of a
like they said, this game is watered down. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers picking sides and close to who they really fuck with. Excuse me, who they really mess with, and they're not going off of true and false, right and wrong. You know what I'm saying?
deal. This would require the big homie to step in and give his opinion. Let's listen to what Corey King had to say.
So it's time for you to, is the word I'm looking for, have some discretion in the things you don't talk about. Only facts. Listen, do you hear me challenging that? Do you hear me challenging that? And I felt, I'm going to use Divine. Divine talked about that. And when Divine talked about it, you didn't hear me say nothing about it. You know why I can't say nothing about it? Divine is 100% right. You can't put a nigga name in a grievance or none of that. I don't give a fuck if a nigga shot you and you ain't got time.
What I just say? What I just say? That's one of the number one rules. You don't implicate nobody else. You know what I'm saying?
And he got time. Once you do that, that grievance still go into a file with your name to the parole board. It goes into the file with his name on it. So guess what? Parole board. So now I'm not saying he intentionally wanted to rattle the motherfucker, but yeah, he shouldn't have did that. He erred in doing so. Alright? Divine said it. Yeah, I know I don't fuck with Divine. Clearly he don't fuck with me. But when he said it, niggas already heard me say it behind the scene, like, yo, That's a grievance, bro. Grievances go to the administration. The administration get it, they have to record and store in the file all to and from memos, emails, letters, faxes, everything to and from they have to store. Why? Because this is what you call a profile and a paper trail. Anything we do, we write on black and white. They know about it. We learn about it later on. The parole board might say, here, and you sitting there, what? Nah, you know, but in your mind, motherfucker, like, he wasn't supposed to write that.
Out of everything that stood out to me in this video, the most important was the fact that Corey King stated that behind the scenes, people had already heard him say that that grievance wasn't right. This said to me that while everybody on the internet was arguing about whether it was snitching or not snitching, the people to whom it really mattered, which was the people, the circle of people that 1090 Jake had affiliated himself with, had already been behind the scenes discussing this, not over the internet, but behind the scenes, behind closed doors. 1090 Jake's circle had acknowledged that he was wrong, which meant that he was subject to being held accountable for that decision, and also that his backing, his security, his validity was starting to look shaky, because now that you've been exposed as a snitch, these guys are not going to be hanging around you. These guys are not going to be letting you come post up in pictures with them when your paperwork is all over the internet and they have gotten word from somebody that they trust, a person who they know has been through the system and has experience in the system. They got word from him saying, yeah, that's wrong. He wasn't supposed to do that. There would be no public outing by these guys, and Corey King would explain why.
I'm not calling tonight Jacob Rat, but on that part right there, he erred. Somebody else sent me some information of a court case and a document dealing with him, right? You didn't see me come online with it. You know why? CK don't be online trying to expose people, bro. Don't confuse what happened with me and OG Mac for what you're doing out here on the internet. What I did with OG Mac was me step to an individual whose name came up in court documents, and this court stamp, court seal on it, and he was associated with me. If you're associated with me, if you're running around and we shooting in the gym together, then it's my responsibility and obligation to get you from around us because you're not living right and you did wrong. Devon said it. Yeah, I know I don't fuck with Devon. Clearly he don't fuck with me. But when he said it, niggas already heard me say it behind the scene, like, yo, that's a grievance, bro. Grievances go to the administration. Listen, y'all know why I don't get online. And if you ask me a question, I can't do anything other than tell the truth. He fucked up with that shit. When Devon said that, I said, yo, fuck with this nigga. The nigga's 100% right.
And even though Corey King was confirming that the grievance was wrong, he was still choosing his words carefully. And he would explain why he was doing that while still making it very clear that he did not care at all how 1090 Jake felt about what he was saying.
When you put it online, you do know what's the charge for that, right? You know what I mean? My thing is, you know, what's real is real, what's fake is fake. Again, I didn't call 1090 Jake a rat. And no, I'm not worried about if a nigga feel away with what I'm saying. Fuck that nigga. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is, when he said I was assaulted by and put that man's name in there, he fucked up. It was an error. He wasn't supposed to do that.
It was starting to look as if playing the paperwork game had caught up to 1090 Jake. And the more people started to question Corey King about his association with 1090 Jake, he would find himself in a position where he had to address it publicly. This meant Jake was back at square one, as he could no longer pretend to be around, as they had made it public knowledge that they had moved him around.
Hey, Robert Hertrick from Shark Tank. I'm a huge fan. Hey, what is your #1 tip for saving money? Easy.
At the same time, Jake didn't want to make this a public thing either because that would lead to people looking into the source of the issue and it would all lead back to this paperwork. It would be hard for Jake to argue that he didn't snitch or he isn't a rat if the word got out that his own circle had cut him off for having bad paperwork. And what would that mean for his career as a journalist in hip hop when his whole identity had become exposing snitches? At some point, Jake decides that he's going to do this interview with Bootleg Kev. And in this interview, he's going to address maturing beyond his white blood identity. Now, as we just addressed and saw, Jake had been moved around, but his account would be different during this interview. During this interview, he would basically say that he became 30 years old and looked around and said, man, I'm doing better than all these guys. I need to move around. That's the clean version. I would give y'all the dirty version, but I don't want to use his clip in my video. Still, some of the things he said, a lot of the things he said came off as very disrespectful to the guys that he once recognized as big homies and big brothers. And while people mostly applauded him for his quote unquote growth, there were still a lot of people who were like, why did he have to say it like that? He would go on saying things like most of the older Bloods from New York and the original members of the East Coast Bloods are broke. My thing is, Jake makes it sound as if being 30 is too old to bang. But when you look at his timeline and you look at the people he gave praise to, guys like T. Rogers, still banging at an old age. Corey King, he pictured here with him throwing up signs. Corey King well over 30 in this picture. When you look at even the guys he took to No Jumper, come on, man. These ain't no, look at dude in that red hat, man. Dude is 40 something. So when you look around and you see that most of these guys are already in their 30s when Jake comes around them and starts hanging, it's like they wasn't too old to bang when you needed them for validation. And you cannot deny that that validation and that company is what helped you reach the peak that you reached. It was this validation that took you from just another guy on YouTube telling prison stories to the guy that is going around checking everybody's paperwork and has the authority and the credibility to do so. When you take that and couple it with the fact that you yourself have bragged about paperwork being the main source of your income.
It'd be like, why are you always worried about paperwork? You always talking about somebody's paperwork. Always in somebody's business speaking about paperwork. I wonder why.
It's easy to see why people feel like the stuff he said in that interview was disrespectful. And also how they could feel used after hearing you talk about how broke they are, after hearing you talk about how much money you've made off of their company. So while Jake would like us to believe that he just dropped his red flag and picked up a book and said, hey, I'm 30, I changed my life, I don't think that's the truth at all. I think he got the boot. He's just a little more comfortable in his space now. He got a little more money, so he feel like, hey, I can cut ties with whoever and I'll still be straight. But we gonna see how
That's the wrong thing. People gonna be feeling like they be feeling used, some more stuff.
long that lasts, considering that he's still trying to do paperwork. After this blunder with Larry Hoover, he might be in trouble. I don't think he gonna have a lane in that paperwork.
And that's false because he going off a article of the newspaper. It's not documented. You know what I'm saying? Not documented. You know what I'm saying? Paper you get from being locked up or from your case. You know what I'm saying? Or from other people's cases. He going off what the news people allegedly, you know what I'm saying, said. But Whack 100 did a video. He talked to the person that allegedly that was the ain't no allegedly praising because he didn't do it, but person that Jake tried to say that he snitched on, but he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go to Rack 100, you know what I'm saying, page and check that out.
Thing at all no more. Simply because he went out on a limb and tried to present the argument that Larry Hoover is a snitch and used a newspaper article as the basis for his argument. He's presenting this newspaper article like it's testimony transcripts or a police report. But this is the same guy who argued that writing a grievance, naming somebody and saying that they hit you isn't snitching. That whole argument alone tells you that Jake is either some
One, either he felt bad that his stuff got exposed and his stuff like that, and he tried to expose everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Or he just, you know what I'm saying, chasing clout. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, he just posted a video. Why you make people asking why you make paperwork? Why you make paperwork? You know what I'm saying? And then he went down and showed he making a million just by doing videos, but and these people life you exposing and sticking your nose in people paperwork ain't got nothing to do with you. I can understand
somebody who likes to move
I can understand if they was doing business with you, but you know that's just my opinion.
the goalpost, or he isn't a person who fully understands what snitching is, and like he has to see such and such told on this person on this. He had to see it like that to know that it's snitching. He don't know how to just naturally feel and interpret like, no, that's telling right there. Even if it's subliminal or dry snitching as they like to call it, he don't know how to sense it, you know? So it's obvious that he needed these guys around. He was soaking up things from these guys, not just hand signs and stuff, but actual game. You could see it in his mannerisms. The way he was talking in that interview on No Jumper is not the same way he was talking in the interview with Lockdown 23 and 1. I ain't just talking about the sound that he was making. I'm talking like the body posture and everything. Look at how he's sitting and moving in this No Jumper interview that he did after he linked up with these guys.
You blood, and then you could set trip on really any other gang too, but it's just like putting it on my name. I went at it with more bloods inside of prison than anyone else. We got so much numbers, we'll have inner beef. I wasn't hitting up Crips left and right, Zoes left and right. I was beefing with other bloods. So that's where set tripping comes from.
Now compare that to just a few years before when he was on the interview on Lockdown 23 and 1 before he started hanging around those guys.
I hope someone sees this, man, and does some kind of shit.
A lot has happened. Mind you, when I got out, I called the chaplain at Lancaster. And I said, how can you claim to be a Christian and you know exactly what's going on at Lancaster? You know exactly what they do.
With that said, man, I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to bring this to y'all. It's been a lot of talk about this whole Jake dropping his flag thing, man. I don't think he grew up. I think he got blew up. He ain't move around. He got moved around. He just trying to play it down because he don't want everybody flooding his comments with, oh, you got put off. Oh, you a snitch. You got put off. Oh, I could tell you a snitch. I knew you was a snitch. Your guys put you off. He don't want to see all that in his comments, but hey, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's why the best thing you can do is just mind your business, man. Do it, you know what I'm saying? Live your life. But that's the end of this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. It's your boy Redley Winzo, and I'm out. Ooh wee, Master Noodles, crazy work. He should have known better.